Okay.
Okay?
Okay, listen.
Can you get an EMP and just take it into battle with you?
I don't think you know what you're talking about.
I don't.
So
I
let's
know
just-
none of what I'm talking about.
Let's just move on. You know?
No, but this is
like one of those things
survival.
like, hey, why don't normal people build a spaceship? Well, you see, to build a spaceship, you need to have not some of the money, all the money.
Hi, I'm Caitlin.
And I'm Charlie.
And welcome to Outsmarting the Shadows, where we help you
Survive
horror movies.
Yes, we do.
And this is little Milo.
Little Milo here, he's excited.
He's in a mood. I think he now has gotten super accustomed to when we sit on this couch and we start recording, or
The pets.
we get the pets, right? Look at this. Why are you upside down, Milo? You're supposed to be right side up. Go hang out with Daddy. All right. So oh, okay. That was Milo. And
He still has stuff to say.
he still has stuff to say.
Oh.
Are you okay? Buddy, calm down.
Okay. Here
All
we
right.
are.
So for those of you who listen to this podcast and you've never seen us on YouTube, Milo is a corgi.
He's a little dog.
He's a little dog. He's probably about 20 pounds,
Almost one of those little rat dogs, you know, the one
Right.
with beady eyes.
but he's not quite.
Not quite.
He's like maybe 80% little rat dog and 20% majestic like German Shepherd.
Right. I would say 2%.
2%.
Yes. Right.
Well, in his
Look at him.
Oh, buddy, it's okay. We're just lifting you up.
Can't really touch him.
Right, it's hard
Gets
to
upset.
pick him up. But as he gets older, he stops being like congenial. He stops being really relaxed, and he's just real specific about what he likes. So we're trying to kind of break him of that and get him to loosen up a little.
Yeah.
Like
It's not going so good.
right, it's not going so good. So well, outside training is going really well.
Oh, that's good.
Anyway, so we had a bit of an argument this week.
Yes. Because we saw a movie that I don't consider a horror movie.
It is not a horror movie.
It is not under the horror movie genre.
No definition that it's a horror movie.
No.
But
nothing.
hear me out. Hear me out.
Okay.
Okay.
I want to see how you're going to sell this to
How I'm
the
going to
audience.
justify this.
Yeah. Sell it. Sell away.
I am going to sell it. Listen. Okay.
So first we have to say what the movie is.
It's called The Creator.
The Creator, about artificial intelligence.
Yes. It is a science fiction film.
Mm-hmm.
And it is brilliantly done. There's a lot of stuff for us to talk about in the making of the movie. But there's a lot of stuff for us to talk about around survival.
Mm.
And I don't think that... So one of the reasons why I started this podcast is when we watch a horror movie, you, me, the audience, the listeners, viewers, when we watch a horror movie, there's almost in every single one, there's a moment when you go, why would you do that? Why wouldn't you just do this other thing? And that's what we want to talk about. We want to talk about, like, how would we survive? And I think that goes to a lot of different genres, you know? And, like, that feeling happens so much in super intense, really well-made science fiction.
Okay. Or you could just say it's a dystopian future and it's horrible.
It is. It's a horrible
Therefore,
dystopian future.
It's horror.
And there's a couple of people that they both make poor choices. Though they make choices that all science fiction movies have this choice in it.
Okay.
And they get killed for it. Okay? So we're going to talk about that. But let's just talk about some of the logistics of the movie first.
Yeah.
All right. So this was in 20...
Spoilers.
Right? Spoiler alert. If you haven't seen... You have to watch this movie.
If you like cinematography, you should watch this movie.
If you like anything about movie making and like how movies are made well,
yeah,
then this is a beautiful
The budget
movie.
of this movie was $80 million. Yeah. It's impressive that they made this movie look how it looks with $80 million.
Yeah.
It feels like a $200 million movie.
It does.
Right?
It really, like when you watch it.
They used Sony 3FD, I think it's the camera.
Yes.
Which it's like a $3,800 cinema camera from Sony.
Yeah.
It's a camera that you can buy
At Best Buy.
At Best Buy. You
Yeah.
could just go now and buy that camera.
I mean, you gotta have the capital.
Yeah,
but
you gotta
you
have
the-
$4,000 to
$4,000
to throw around.
to
But
fit
hey,
around a
any
camera.
pleb can buy that camera.
But
The camera that they used to film this movie.
But we have to talk. So for people who don't understand movie making at all, or like cameras or stuff, if you don't make videos on your own, you have to understand that usually a good video camera costs like 10 grand.
Right?
Like a decent
cinema camera.
That's a cinema camera.
Yeah.
Now,
and if you wanna like a red cinema camera,
it's $50,000
for just the body.
Just the body. That's not the lens.
That's not the lens, so the media, the data, and none of that.
Camera equipment gets real expensive when you're making big budget blockbusters. Now, the other thing to be aware of is something that we read in an article is to rent some of those cameras.
Yeah, some movies they don't buy the camera; they just rent them. They rent it out a day.
The director said per day it was $10,000 a day to rent this giant camera.
Yeah, a rig.
Especially if that's not including the rig. That's just the body of this box camera. And then if you're talking to if it's a film camera, then you have to worry what type of film you're gonna use. Yes.
How it's gonna be exposed, all that type of stuff.
You have to get the equipment to hold the camera, like the all of the stuff. And
I guess they saved a bunch of money by just going, oh, let's buy this cheapo, according to Hollywood movie making standard, a Sony FX3 camera is a cheapo camera.
Yeah, and now Gareth Edwards he put in the work on this movie. He was the director, he was the writer, and he was the producer on this movie. He previously in 2010 he did a movie called The Monsters, which we are going to cover. That apparently is a horror movie.
14.
Oh, 2014.
2014.
That was 2000. No, The Monsters was 2010.
2014.
Okay. We're going to go with 14 because you're right, usually.
I remember seeing it.
Okay.
2014.
So we're going to cover that one. You say it's a horror movie and it's really excellent.
Yeah, it's a good movie.
But Gareth Edwards also did Rogue One. So most people are familiar with Rogue One.
Directed?
Yes. And so, I mean, after Rogue One, after you have a big success, they pretty much let you do stuff.
Right.
And this is what he chose to do.
Yeah. Too bad that the writing is not there. I really did not like the writing in this movie.
The story itself.
It's like it's great. It is filmed brilliantly. The ambiance is great. Yeah. The universe is great. But for me, the writing, it just falls short. It's like, why is this? All this random tropes that you see in movies are just thrown in there.
Yeah, I don't mind the predictability of the movie. I really don't. I even liked the acting. I thought the acting was very good, but they didn't have enough. I think the pacing of the emotional arcs wasn't quite there, and in the last 45 minutes was just trash.
You didn't like it?
Well, so at
it made no sense. Some points, what?
Right. So we already said spoiler alert. So at some point he finds his wife Maya, and she's in a coma, and he shuts off the machine.
Yeah.
When Maya dies, from that point on, the movie makes no sense whatsoever. Like every 5 seconds, I was like, how could that happen? Where he goes up into a spaceship. Well, he manages to escape from the United States government with the most important piece of technology that they've ever encountered in a years-long war. Somehow, just him and the kid. Like they just had two cars in a caravan taking the kid's dead body to an incinerator. You don't have an incinerator on site if you're just gonna just burn it right there. I don't know. It doesn't make any sense.
Just pour gasoline on it.
Right, and then
set it ablaze.
There are some movies where if you escape from a caravan of police officers and military personnel, that's the whole movie. Right. But he just the van flips over.
There's a 3-hour shootout.
Right. There's a 3-hour shootout. There's
what was it?
Car chase.
Was that the film?
Yeah.
It's just a shootout. The whole movie's a shootout.
The whole movie.
Yeah, right?
I mean, even like there's whole action genres based on you escaping from a caravan and then running from the police. But that's literally I counted it. It was a 2.5 minute sequence where his van flips over. He's totally fine. Didn't get any injury.
He walked off.
He just opens the top hatch, which supposedly is like at least 8 feet in the air, but he just grabs this kid, and he just disappears.
Right.
In a city that I guess he's never been in. And
he knows how to survive. This dystopian horror.
Right. Listen.
This dystopian horror.
Let's
quote and quote for the listeners.
Not okay. Listeners, you need to be on the journey with me.
Okay.
Listen, we are gonna survive a dystopian, futuristic
horror.
It's not horror. I've said it's not horror.
You can say it's horror, if you're living in this dystopia, which is a little bit, which is not that far away. We could be alive when this happens.
I know. Now, let's just set the stage for what survival means. Here's what I mean by this. So on the one side, you could live in the United States, which you've had a horrific event where LA has been destroyed.
It's always Los Angeles.
It's always LA.
In movies, they hate LA.
God,
it's like,
LA.
Let's burn LA.
Yeah. It's always LA or New York.
Right? Never Florida. Everybody talks shit on Florida, but Florida never gets destroyed.
Ever bombs Florida.
Yeah, why? Everybody's like, oh, Florida man is bad, but he never gets killed in movies.
Yeah, well, the thing is, it's really difficult to set anything in Florida.
How so?
It's very humid and hot. No one wants to stay here.
Right? Imagine all that camera equipment just getting humidity everywhere.
Well, that's probably another reason to choose a small handheld camera to shoot your giant movie. And when it's based in the Philippines, Cambodia, Japan.
Was it shot on location?
Yeah, they shot.
Oh,
so they actually scouted for all of these locations before they did any production. And it was shot all
Not
there.
Florida.
Not Florida, no.
Nah.
So the big issue in this universe is you could either live in the United States, which is waging war on AI, or you could live in New Asia, which is they really do visuals for it a little bit.
Here's what bothers me of this movie. So there's New Asia and the United States, nothing else. Whatever happened to this movie? I agree with it if they didn't set a date, but no. In the beginning shot, they said 2065. Listen, 2065, it's around the corner. It's not that far off. Okay.
Right.
We might be alive, in 2065. Knock on wood. Complete and total societal collapse will happen, and we just die of hunger.
Right.
So we could be alive. There's no. So you're telling me Russia doesn't exist? You're telling me China doesn't exist? You're telling me a whole bunch of places, Nordic countries don't exist? What about the UK? The UK doesn't exist?
See, you're speaking to a point that I was about to get to, which is the movie seems to only have two choices, and I'm going to tell you about a third choice.
Okay.
So the one choice is you live in the United States, which is waging war against AI, which AI in this context is represented by sentient beings that are human-like, that have emotions and wants and needs, and the thing that I love about this movie is that they touch on a lot of different things that we've seen previously in like robot movies.
Yes.
Where they say I can't harm humans, like the robots follow the 3 laws of robotics. Yeah. So they touch on that. There's a lot of rich culture that is in this movie. The other option is you live in New Asia, which I'm sure that there are some wealthy areas of New Asia, but the ones that they really focus on are sort of the drudges. And even when you're in these big cities, I wouldn't want to live in a big city like that. The buildings are huge. There's steam everywhere. It's just too techno for me.
Pause. What's wrong with that camera? I don't know what it is. Look at this camera. That camera is out of commission. I don't know why. Okay, resume. So this camera. Resume.
However, in New Asia, they have humanity. They have civil rights. Now, I don't know how you feel about this, but in my opinion, the AI in this universe deserve equal rights.
Yeah. You could say that.
Okay, so that's the stage of survival of what you have.
Well, okay, but it makes no sense, right?
Yeah.
Why are they farmers?
That's the thing. Like,
no sense. Why would artificial, robots that are human-like and have needs, They don't eat food.
Why wouldn't they be farmers? If they were created...
They don't eat food.
Exactly, but if they were created to serve humans and
but
to help us...
they live in this place that they don't serve humans.
Right, but they live with humans.
So, let the humans be the farmers.
And remember, the little kid asks for ice cream, she's going to give that little kid ice cream.
Yeah, but how does that work? I didn't think of that. Does it like melt in its mouth? So, do they get rusty? Do they rust away? What type of materials? Listen, this is around the corner. There's no magical material that they're all of a sudden gonna find to make these robots.
Well, you have to assume that is actually how this universe works. Is that there are ways that you can serve both energy and material and
material sciences leaps and bounds
has evolved.
Okay.
Otherwise, the movie will never make any sense. There are some things that are great in this movie and some things that are just trash in terms of technology. And
so in 40 years, material sciences will evolve to the point.
Yes, that's what the movie is. I think any science fiction movie that involves robots, you kind of have to take that with a grain of salt. Otherwise,
you gotta suspend disbelief.
Yeah, suspend disbelief. Otherwise, you're not going to enjoy the movie at all. Yes. So that's the stage that you're set with. In my opinion, I would not want to live in a country that was waging war against an entire species of people. So that's the stage. But I feel like you could go, like, there must be laws other than New Asia and the U.S. Like the Netherlands, Belgium, France, but
Italy, they don't make an appearance.
Russia. No, they don't. But I'm just like...
It's like, you let the U.S. be like this terrorist and nobody chimes in.
Well, that's how it is.
Well, right now there's a stalemate between, China, Russia, U.S. Nobody wants mutual assured destruction.
Yes, that's true.
So everybody's like, okay, let's not press a button and destroy everybody.
Yes.
So I would think someone around the world was like, listen, you can't be in our backyard just randomly with giant military machinery.
Well, I think that's why New Asia exists.
But where is New Asia?
Well, so they did show a map once, and I don't remember exactly where it was.
Okay.
But it was a new place. Sweetie, I don't know what you want, Milo.
He wants the pets.
He wants the pets.
There we go. You get the pets.
Okay. So I think that first, for survival, you have to make choice.
Okay.
Do you live in a society that has absolutely no AI and is waging war against it? Or do you live in a society that lives relatively peacefully with AI, but there's bombs raining down on you all the time?
Right. And robots they go to the fields.
You're still on this.
For some reason. They have to eat.
I would say that maybe it's just habit. I mean, why were there robots that were monks?
Right. So some of the writing is like,
that makes sense. I think that if you are a sentient being, I think there's a certain amount of being a farmer has to do with your connection to the earth and understanding how fuel works.
But
maybe the robots poop.
But we're here to survive.
I'm just saying.
The listeners here because they want to know how to survive this dystopian horror.
You're the one who brought up the farming thing. I'm just giving you an answer. So you could be. So if you were Maya and the rebellion and stuff, I like that their philosophy was they kind of accept people that come into their group. They make them one of their own, but they also have their own agenda that they're not. Like, she didn't tell her husband that she was making a robot baby on the side.
From her baby.
Yeah. You know what I mean? That's a pretty big, like, if I did that on the side and I didn't tell you.
That's okay.
You'd be like, what?
What are you doing? What now?
Especially if you live in a group where you consider robots to be sentient.
Right.
Then essentially what you're building is just another child for your husband to also raise. And you're like, hey, guess what? It's twins.
Right. All of a sudden you're going to have a normal child and then a twin.
Yeah, a twin.
Nobody signed out for that.
Right.
How much more expensive 2 instead of 1 children?
Right. That is hella expensive
Right?
to
Especially
have two
if
babies.
inflation keeps on going.
Oh, I know.
2065 versus now. It's going to be
They'll be.
expensive to have a kid.
How much is like robot baby formula?
Yeah.
Is
If you
robot
have,
baby formula a thing?
if you raise a child, leave a comment down below.
Yeah, tell us how expensive it is.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just in formula.
Just
Just in formula. How expensive is it? A month.
Right?
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if that philosophy ultimately is the thing that got them killed, but it might have also protected them. So I guess if you're part of the rebel group from a survival standpoint, I think that you should be a little bit more closed off and not accept new members, especially when everybody in that group previously was ones that had raised her already. And if robots don't degrade, you don't need new members. You just need to build new ones.
Build new robots.
Build new.
Yeah, because they can eat ice cream. Yes.
You're not falling in line with the survival thing. All you're doing is focusing on the logistics of how do the robots work.
How are they made? Yeah.
Like,
how is it? I want to see a show set in the universe of this movie, and I want to see the episode of how it's made of the robots. So we see at one point that there's kind of like a dystopian factory with printing parts and bodies and stuff.
Well, I got to tell you. So that leads me back to my original comment, which was they do one character really poorly, and this has to do with survival, and like this is in every sci-fi movie. So I'm gonna get his name right now.
Which one was the character? His friend?
Yes, his friend.
That he was in like a couple of scenes, and in the first scene he's like, "Oh yeah, these robots don't go native on me," and all of a sudden he cares for he
has a wife.
He has a wife or a girlfriend or something or a sex bot. We don't know what it is.
His name is Drew.
Okay.
So Drew, and she's not a sex bot. Her name is Cammy.
The actress or the character?
The character. Okay. She's not a sex bot at all. Listen,
we don't know.
No, of course we know. Listen, you don't treat a sex bot the way that he treated her.
I mean,
he was in love with her.
I don't know a lot of people that have sex bots. Listen, if you're a listener or / viewer that have a sex bot, let us know in the comments down below.
Do you treat
your sex bot
like your wife?
Like
your partner?
Yeah.
So,
interesting.
Milo, what is going on?
What are you doing?
There must be a toy under the couch.
Right? Yeah.
Like he's going nuts.
He's rummaging. It's okay.
Rummaging.
Sound won't matter.
Okay. So I loved his relationship with Cammy. That whole scene where so he has a factory where he builds and repairs robots on the ground floor.
Yeah.
And then on top is his apartment.
Yes.
And I gotta tell you, that is it's right here, sweetie. That was my favorite part of the whole movie. Was Drew and his life.
Yeah.
And if my old friend Joshua, who spared me once, came back in military garb, covered in blood and dirt and stuff with some random robot kid, I'm sorry. We're going to help you at another different location. I'm not going to bring you back to my wife and my business with all of these people that I'm responsible for. He had
my house.
Right. Like he had all these robots there that he was helping and repairing and workers. They're all dead now.
Yes.
And that was awful. And this happens in a lot of sci-fi movies and some horror movies where you join up with somebody else who's going to help you and you just end up getting them all killed.
Right.
Just listen, if your friend, if you had a friend who came over and was like, "Oh my God, I need your help," or blah, 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 blah. We're going to take them to Whole Foods down the street to talk. We're not
Winn-Dixie.
Winn-Dixie. We're going to go to Winn-Dixie and we're going to go to I don't know why, but Aldi. Let's just go to all the grocery stores.
Right.
And we're just going to have a talk there.
Right. But then you have to realize that you're not the main character in this movie. So you can't have main character syndrome.
Main character syndrome is the assumption that you wouldn't get injured.
No, that you're the main character in every movie.
I would assume that if you're watching this podcast, you know you're not the main character because you want to survive.
Yes.
Like, if you're the main character, you don't need to do any of the things that we suggest.
Right. You have plot
You
shield.
have a plot shield. You could just sit in the middle of the highway and nothing will
But
hit
in
you.
this movie, the main character didn't have plot shield. He blew up in the end with the station.
Yeah, but it's at the very end, and he went out as a hero, and blah blah blah
Okay.
blah. Like, you know,
Nobody will remember his name.
Joshua something. I don't remember his last name. What was his last name?
Yeah. It was a robot lover.
I'm so happy that he got to see Maya.
At the end, even though she wasn't her, she was a replicant.
Yeah, but at least she was, he got to see her. You know.
Yeah. Anyway, back to surviving.
So, that was really sad for me that like they messed up that whole situation that he had. And one of the great things about this movie was how they filmed the emotions of the robots that they just sort of passed by. They weren't main characters. Like one of the robots was being turned on a thing, and you could see it was kind of nervous. You know, he was like, "Oh," while they were repairing his side.
Yeah.
And I just
and the one that was in the compactor.
Yeah.
Like trying to get away.
Oh yeah, the compactor. That was really upsetting. Or oh my God, the one that they woke up.
Right.
And he was just asking, "Where's Amy? Where's Amy?"
Yeah, his probably family that he raised or something.
Oh my God. This movie is really sad.
Yeah.
That's why I think it's important. So let's say you're a robot, right? You're a robot, and you.
Which getting to that.
Yeah.
So, in the tail end of the movie, they show you that they have this technology to transfer consciousness into a little flash drive.
Yeah.
You know how big the data must be in that flash drive to transfer someone's consciousness into it?
Jesus.
I would argue that it would be bigger than that, unless it's like quantum computing or something like that. I don't understand. Makes no sense.
It must be very rare technology.
That only the government has?
Maybe, because otherwise, like, why wouldn't we all keep just backups of ourselves?
Right? You can be immortal.
Right. You just back it up every day. There is a show about that.
Right.
Yeah.
There is.
Yeah, it's on Netflix. You should check it out.
Altered Carbon.
Yeah, Altered Carbon.
Did that show, did it get canceled?
No, it had a couple of seasons, and we didn't watch the second season together. Yeah. We watched the first one together. So we should get back into it.
Then they changed characters. They did kind of like they have a really cool Doctor Who type of shtick where, oh, you're the main actor, you want to come back? It's okay, we'll just change the body in the movie.
And they changed the time frame, which is really cool. Yeah. I love that they do that. You should check out that show. It is an amazing sci-fi show, and the writing is spectacular
it's pretty good.
In that. But in terms of survival, so let's say you're a robot.
Just minding your own business.
Just minding your own business. Like, what are some good survival techniques that you think could help if you're a robot in this world?
I don't know. Don't work the fields next to a battlefield? I don't know.
Apparently you can get wet. Like, it doesn't matter if you have moisture.
Yeah.
In your system.
And they have to sleep. They sleep.
They also don't seem to need to recharge.
Right? Because they sleep.
Right.
But then I find it very inconvenient that their off switch is right like in their little hole.
Ear. Yeah. Yeah, that was very inconvenient. Right? Because someone could just touch it.
While you sleep.
What if you accidentally like hit it?
Yeah, right? Yeah, I gotta put this boom. You just shut off. Then you get turned off like 500 years later. Oh my God. Everybody you know is dead.
Would suck.
Right?
Well,
so this is a survival tip. If you're a sentient AI robot, make sure that your off button is not, at arm's length of anybody.
I would move the off button to like by your chest in a little cavity.
Yeah.
Like
that's the whole thing in the next generation with Data. He has an off switch, but not everybody knows about it.
Yeah. And it's hard to get to.
Yeah, it's hard to get to. Not everybody knows about it, and it's a secret for a reason.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think if you're a robot, you would kind of have to make your way to New Asia no matter what. Like, you have to try and find a way to be in New Asia. And if you can get wet, I would say you just walk under the ocean to get there.
Right?
I don't know why there
Nothing.
weren't just whole societies
Oh yeah, of AI.
of AI under the ocean.
Right.
That would be my tip.
That's
It's like
interesting.
just build an
I
entire
think it's
society.
just salt water. I'm pretty sure the salt water will damage something.
But remember, you just got to pretend like the alloy or something
Yeah.
doesn't
Okay.
get.
And it's not affected by.
Yeah, you just
It
got
doesn't
to.
corrode.
My buddy.
That's a really good metal that doesn't corrode.
Yeah. Go over here to Daddy. Come on.
That's it.
Come on.
Good
No.
boy. Stay here.
You stay.
Okay. Here you go. Here you go.
Oh, Jesus. Your toy.
Anyway.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. So I think if you're an AI, then you're going to have to do that. The other thing, if you can transfer your consciousness, if I was a robot, I would have several backups of my consciousness in different robots all the time. So that there were just different versions of
myself. You can have multiple yous.
You can have multiple yous.
Just interacting with the world.
Yeah, why not?
A you that goes to work? Do they have to work? Well, I'm guessing they have to work. This is a dystopia.
Like you've reached this advanced society and you still have to work every single day in order to just live.
It's like RoboCop. He got killed at work and he got brought back to work.
To work.
Right? Yeah.
Work brought you back from the dead.
Yeah. You died at work and then you're brought back to work.
To work.
Forever.
Forever.
Because you're immortal now.
Right? And you don't, like, now your only purpose is work.
Yeah, and your property of work.
Of work.
Yeah. Yeah.
Can you imagine if you were the property of your company?
Oh, that would be a dystopian hell.
Ugh.
Yeah.
There's probably movies about that I can't remember right now.
Yeah. RoboCop.
Oh, well, no, I know, but like others.
He got brutally murdered at work.
At work.
And then, oh yeah, finally I don't have to work. No. You're coming back to work.
Coming back to work.
Yeah. Death is not an excuse.
Death is not an
option. Not to, return to office.
What do you mean you have a doctor's appointment?
What do you mean there's no doctor's appointment? You come back to the office.
Okay. So now we've already talked about if you were a human and how would you choose to live.
Mm-hmm.
We've talked about being a robot and what you would need to do.
Yes.
Let's talk about being a human soldier. Okay. So
for which one? For which,
Well, let's talk about one of each.
Okay.
So the first one, if you're a soldier for the United States government and you're fighting a war against AI.
Yes.
Like that lady, right?
But what military branch? It's not all that clear. Is it Space Force?
Let's just pretend like it's Space Force.
Is it, the Army, the Navy? We don't know. It's not all that clear.
I don't know. Usually, like, people who are this hardcore are like Marines.
Okay.
Like, Marines are really capable of this.
Okay.
So let's say you're in the Marines, right? And assuming that you signed up knowing that you would be fighting AI.
Yes.
My opinion is the best way to survive is to get what's the thing that stops all electronic technology? An EMP. You get an EMP just on you at all times and you can just press it whenever you want.
Like a little weapon that does an electromagnetic pulse.
An electromagnetic pulse.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, they had the thing. They had the little gun that goes and they shut them down. That was
why was it a gun? Why isn't it an extended circular burst that it's just constantly going off?
Because then the viewer won't understand. It has to be, directionally.
Well, now we're not viewing the movie. Now we're advising on survival. So
you're advising on weapons engineering in the universe of this movie.
In the universe of this movie, weapons engineering advice, and honestly, so sometimes military soldier families will send their family members upgraded military equipment when they're overseas in war.
That's not a thing.
It is a thing.
It's not a thing.
It's a thing.
It's up to the family member. That's messed up. That's not a thing. Let us know if that's a thing.
So the reason why I think that's a thing, because I guess I could be wrong, is when I was younger, there was a big funding campaign when I was in high school for the brother of a guy that I went to high school with, whose parents were trying to pay for upgraded armor.
What the hell?
To send over to him in like Iraq or something.
Isn't that what taxes are for? To pay for the military-industrial complex?
I don't know. the specifications of how any of this works. All I know is that story, and I was like, what? Because I had the same reaction. And they were like, no, this happens all the time. You have to send them upgrades.
Sounds like snake oil. I don't know.
Anyway, the point is, you can get an electromagnetic pulse, right?
What do you mean? Like, are you asking me? Oh yeah, let's build a weapon that shoots electron.
Listen. It's an extended circular burst.
Okay. Listen.
Can you get an EMP and just take it into battle with you?
I don't think you know what you're talking about.
I don't. So I know none of what I'm talking about.
Let's just move on.
No, but this is
like
survival.
One of those things. Like, hey, why don't normal people build a spaceship? Well, you see, to build a spaceship, you need to have not some of the money, all the money.
Listen, the only reason why I asked you that question is because I saw Radio Flyer. And Radio Flyer,
And she was like, why the normal people don't build spaceship? Because normal people aren't billionaires. The normal people that get to be billionaires, they are building spaceships, you know?
Listen.
You got the X company. You got SpaceX, you got the Blue Origin one, you got the Virgin one. Those are from, billionaires that have the money.
We're not
to
going
build
to
spaceships.
space. Listen, we're not going to space, okay? All we're doing is getting an electromagnetic pulse that goes in a circular dispersal manner whenever you press a button. I don't understand why it's so complicated.
Okay.
Anyway, so if you're a soldier in the United States Army in the world of the Creator, you just need to get an electromagnetic pulse in a button generator that you can wear on your chest, and so that whenever you encounter the enemy,
the enemy.
The anemones.
You just press the button and they're all dead.
All those anemones need to die.
Yes, we solved the problems of this horror dystopian world.
Just get an electromagnetic pulse
Generator.
Yeah. Constantly.
Yes.
So anyway, so that would be my advice if you were a soldier with the U.S. military who was in the world of the Creator fighting against AI. Now, the other side. Okay. So let's say you are a robot or a robot sympathizer, or you just have humanity on your side, because those are the good guys.
You're a filthy robot lover.
No, you're a good, decent person who appreciates that life comes in many different forms.
First of all, having seen now how those, Japanese and Chinese sex dolls look.
Okay.
In our current reality, the sentient AI will not look, they will look like anime ladies. They will look like Hatsune Miku. That's how they would look like.
Well, this is more evolved than that. Okay, this is just robots.
This is just 40 years down the line. It's right around the corner. This is 2065.
Okay, 20 years down the line, the sex bot era. 40 years down the line, the sex bots are sentient beings. They don't want to be sex bots. They don't want to be
like
respected.
Hatsune Miku and dance and sing with blue hair.
Remember
and get married.
The whole point of the movie was that these are beings who have complex emotions and feelings, and they want to be respected. So if they started out looking like Hatsune Miku, they're going to definitely change that on their own. So that
you don't know who Hatsune Miku is. Just go to YouTube and just type Hatsune Miku.
Right.
But if you know, you know.
Well, I don't know. I don't know who Hatsune Miku is.
The blue-haired little anime character that sings, that she's done concerts and all that type of stuff.
This sounds great.
That has a lot of, games, dancing games.
Okay.
You know what it is.
I probably do.
Yes.
Okay. So if you are a robot or a robot sympathizer and you are living in New Asia and you're fighting against the U.S. government, you really should have launched an undercover mission by now that puts you on the Nomad, which is the spaceship. The Nomad was the main way that they were able to go after the war. So what you need to do is you get a lot of human contacts. You have them go over to the United States and have a child.
Oh, okay.
Then you raise that child and you tell them, listen, you got to go into the military. And then they go and they sabotage the Nomad. Now, simultaneously, you need to build a force that's also just attacking the Nomad as much as possible.
So you're talking to do a Departed.
Yeah.
You know the movie Departed?
Isn't
Leonardo DiCaprio?
Isn't that the movie with about dreams?
No, that's Inception.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
The Departed is where you have Leonardo DiCaprio and I forget the other one, Matt Damon, I think it was, and one of them is they're part of a criminal organization, but one of them, he becomes a cop and all that type of stuff.
Yeah, I remember that.
And but that he's infiltrating, but he's really a criminal. But all his life he worked to be a cop and a detective and all that.
Similar to that.
Yeah.
I think that's important for
you
survival.
do a Departed.
You got to be more strategic. Like, I mean, maybe they don't have the resources for it, but it seems like the only thing they were doing was like living their life. Oh my God, someone's attacking
and
us.
A blue beam from space. And if this is something that happens, if you see the blue beam, you run.
Right.
But a lot of people are like, oh, look at that blue beam. Oh, it looks so nice. What is that? I wonder what's that. Boom, they're all dead.
The same thing is true for like when there were raids on their country with the little helicopters and the teams of Marines and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
They were always never prepared.
Right.
You know what I mean? There was only one scene where they were prepared.
Yeah. And if they're all sentient robots, AI, I would argue that all of them have more strength than a normal human.
They should.
Right? But yet they sleep. Mm. And they eat ice cream.
And they are not connected to the internet.
Right. Is there internet?
I don't know.
Here's another thing that bugged me about this movie. Like, monitor displays de-evolved.
Okay, I have an explanation.
Like they went to it was an airport. In this case, it was a spaceport because they could go up to the stratosphere and all that type of stuff. And if you go to the airport right now, in the United States, I'm guessing, some places I'm pretty sure it's also the same. You have monitors that have color.
Right.
They are LCD or LED panels that have colors and graphics, and they're probably at worst they're high definition.
Yeah.
1080, 1920 by 1080 at best. At worst, but not in this movie. In this movie, all monitors have two colors, either blue and black or orange and black, and that's it. Makes no sense.
Actually, it does make sense.
How does it make sense?
So I was thinking about this. After the destruction of LA, AI was eliminated from life in the United States. So I think that the production of technology started to come from a place of very basic coding, where it would become harder for AI to infiltrate some of these systems. Not impossible, but I think it would become a little bit less complex.
Okay.
So I think that they kind of went back to DOS on some level to kind of get some of this, their systems more under control. At least that's my theory. I just didn't see...
Yeah, but you can have an LCD panel that has nothing to do with being connected to the internet.
You can, but I think... if you're trying to demonstrate visually that something has been downgraded,
I guess
it would be more difficult to explain that to an audience.
Okay.
So that was sort of what I got from it. The other thing is that it makes it look more militaristic.
Yeah.
A little bit more like
I guess it was an artistic choice.
It was an artistic choice, I think, to add to the storytelling of what was going on more so than why would this be. The other thing from a survival standpoint, if you were a soldier trying to fight for AI, I don't know why they weren't also coming at it from a cultural perspective as well. A lot of wars can be influenced greatly and ended much more quickly by showing people, say, that AI is not evil by doing, they call them propaganda reels, but they're not. They're just showing people how AI really lives, talking more about the fact that there was a coding error, that they mentioned that in the movie, that the destruction of LA was not actually the AI's fault. But, I just think They should have been doing some of that.
Yeah,
social engineering.
Yeah, and this movie, once you look really deep into the, how things are, there's a lot of plot holes. The writing's not the best, but visually, you should watch this movie.
You really have to watch this movie.
If you like how, cinematography at all, you need to watch this movie.
This movie...
Just having it be filmed with pleb cameras, it's impressive.
I think that this movie is... I could have this movie on in the background while I'm making art and while I'm working, and I would be really satisfied because it's just so beautiful.
Yes.
And from a survival perspective, there's a lot of things I think that you need to do. Because it's not a fun world to be in, and that's why I wanted to pick it, because it's science fiction,
dystopian horror world.
It's dystopian, and it's difficult. It's a difficult place to survive in, which means that you need some tips.
Yeah. What about you, audience / listener / viewer?
Do you have any survival tips for this science fiction dystopian
horror?
World? It's not horror, okay? But here's the
called
thing.
The Creator.
The Creator. Now, I want to hear from everybody if you like this format. Do you mind that we're going off script and talking about something that's not traditional horror?
Yes.
Tell me, because if you hate it, I'll never do it again.
Yeah.
If you're open to it.
Yeah. We can watch Blade Runner. That's another dystopian horror sci-fi, Blade Runner, Blade Runner. But then we have to choose which cut: theatrical cut, extended cut, final cut. The international cut. There's a lot of cuts for the original Blade Runner.
Yeah.
1984.
Yeah. Well.
1984. I'm not sure.
I think it's 1984.
I don't know. But I guess we'll find out.
Yeah, we'll look it up.
If not, then the next movie will be the / Christmas horror.
Yeah,
movie.
Christmas knife in your back.
Knife of Christmas, something like that. We don't know.
Knife Christmas movie.
Yeah. A holiday horror.
Yeah, it's a holiday horror. So thank you so much for joining us today. Please remember to be safe, be vigilant, and be the last one standing.
Always.